Prince Harry didn't fly into Heathrow looking for forgiveness. He didn't arrive with a lowered gaze, ready for tea and hugs. This trip was cold, strategic. 4 days of curated moments, every stop placed like a chess piece, ending in a strange, blink and it's over coffee drop-in with King Charles that barely hit the 25-minute mark. And that's being generous. Yet look at the headlines. Harry reunites with Charles. A glowing headline, as if a handful of minutes in Clarence's house had stitched a broken family back together. It wasn't healing, it was theater, and the part no one wants. To say out loud is the part that stings the most. The last real leverage Harry and Meghan have left is the one thing they say they're desperate to protect: their children. Let's not dress it up. Archie and Lilibet are being played like bargaining chips. For all the talk about shielding them from the cameras, they appear right on cue when the narrative needs rescuing. And it's no coincidence that this new reconnection push arrives after the money taps have slowed. Spotify gone. Netflix dimmed. The fairy tale Duchess brand sliding off the premium shelf and into the clearance bin. What's left? The grandchildren card. Insiders close to the palace say Charles, fighting a serious cancer battle, wants time with his grandkids. Of course he does. That's human. What's jarring is how that longing is now the hinge on which these negotiations seem to swing. Security on the table. Narrative cover on the table. Perhaps both. Love as leverage. The idea that any of this is purely about family is laughable. Here's what the trip actually looked like. The meeting? Under half an hour. According to Lady Colin Campbell, about 25 minutes. Not alone. No cathartic heart-to-heart. No hugs. Just enough time to sit, to look, to leave, and then push out a polished little line about how much Harry loved being back in the UK. The same man who spent 6 years lighting the country on fire now whispers that he misses the warmth of the blaze. What did that achieve? Headlines, nothing more. Optics over honesty. Charles, weakened by illness, allowed it. Not because he suddenly wanted a long Sunday afternoon of bridge building, because legacy is breathing down his neck. He knows the clock is loud now. He knows he doesn't get infinite moves. That brief sit-down read less like reconnection and more like contingency. The somber calculation of a man who understands the crown doesn't pause for anyone, not even him. And here's the part that turns the stomach. If the goal had been genuine family time, there were ways to do it. Quiet. Invisible. A flight to Balmoral with the children. No leaks, no press, no performance. These people have cloaked movements for decades. If Harry and Meghan had wanted a private moment for Charles and the grandchildren, they could have made it happen. They didn't, because it had to be performative. It had to be seen. The brand is on life support. Charles is the oxygen tank, but the public isn't naive. We remember the Oprah sit-down, the accusations, the cool, polished rage, the Netflix slow drip designed to bruise the institution from every angle. And now we're supposed to pivot into the misunderstood son arc? No. A few grips and grins and a 25-minute coffee don't erase years of scorched earth. It gets more absurd when you clock how coordinated those 4 days were. The visit to the Queen's grave, the charity stops, the quotes, the handshake choreography. Everything screamed campaign. A press tour dressed in royal clothing. With Meghan off stage, you could feel handlers trying to sell Harry as relatable again, soft-edged and open. But it doesn't track. This is the same man suing the press, declaring the media a toxin, accusing his family of institutional failure. You don't detox from that in 4 days. Then there's the William problem. Reportedly, Charles didn't even tell him. The future king, blindsided. No heads up, no green light, no brotherly check-in. The word is William found out when Charles was already en route to Clarence's house. That's not miscommunication. That's bypass. That says Charles knew what the answer would be if he asked. William would have blocked it, and who could blame him? A quick sit-down, then a hazy line about rebuilding trust. This isn't a redemption arc. It's a stall. Harry's team allegedly promised no leaks, no tell-all addendum, no camera shadows creeping under the door. And still, like clockwork, out poured the hand-picked lines to friendly outlets. Polished, gentle, reassuring. He loved being back. He wants to rebuild. He regrets the mess. It's hard to take seriously after years of pointed interviews and carefully loaded narratives. The real danger? Charles, weakened and emotional, is exactly the target line for a soft power squeeze. Inside the palace, urgency hums. Staff feel it. Insiders feel it. Even the press that gets spoon-fed updates can't ignore the undertow. Time is tight. The king is trying to tidy the desk before the hourglass empties. That's the context for this tea, not a father's heart bursting. A ruler's calculus compressing, because this wasn't spontaneous. Trips like this don't just happen. They're storyboarded. Publicists, handlers, press grids, every step pre-plotted, every doorway framed. From the moment the plane touched down to the moment Harry walked out of Clarence's house, it was choreography, not sentiment. And while Harry played prodigal son light, William stayed out of frame. Not consulted, not invited, not even informed until too late. That wasn't a scheduling conflict. That was a choice. The man who's been the steady metronome of the monarchy cut out. The optics aren't subtle. If this were real reconciliation, the heirs would share the room. They didn't. Because William's done playing along with media maneuvers that leave the institution bleeding. For years, Harry and Meghan went to war with the press. Racism accusations, bullying claims, lawsuits, docuseries. A memoir that read like slow-motion shrapnel. And now the headlines flip soft? The story shifts tone. We're told the orders came from the very top. That Charles reached out to the big levers and asked for mercy in the edit, to protect the crown at a fragile moment. In doing so, he may have weakened it further, because the public remembers. We remember being called complicit just for asking questions. You don't erase that with a sanitized soundbite and a polite car ride. And hovering over all of this, the children. The Daily Mail's line, leaked reportedly from Charles's orbit, about a grandfather aching for time with Archie and Lilibet. And of course he does. But that ache is precisely why this is dangerous. Sentiment is a lever if you're willing to pull it. When the Netflix glow wobbled, photos surfaced. When Spotify collapsed, stories about Lily clipped the feeds. When the brand dips, the children reappear like anchors on the timeline. This isn't subtle anymore. If privacy were the real goal, the blueprint would be simple, quiet. No photos, no quotes, no plane spotters catching silhouettes on the tarmac. But that's not the game. The value isn't in the moment, it's in the coverage. A secret Balmoral visit earns nothing. A publicized reunion, an image of a sick king longing for his grandchildren? That's narrative gold. Meghan, of course, remained just off stage. Calculated absence. The silence was part of the script. With her out of frame, Harry got the temporary glow-up. Soft focus, healing energy, the misunderstood son patina. But don't mistake distance for detachment. The ship still has a captain. Every photo, every line, every choice of timing bore the same fingerprints. The machine adapts. It doesn't sleep. Tragically, Charles appears to be drifting into the net. Guilt, love, the weight of time. Call it what you want. The door opens an inch, and it's hard to close again, especially when you're up against people who treat sentiment not as sacred but as useful, which leaves William and Catherine shouldering the institution again. The adults in the room, calm, steady, measured. But even granite cracks if you drill long enough. If decisions keep bypassing them, the fracture runs deeper. Because this isn't just family drama. It's succession politics. It's the future of the monarchy being played like a media grid. And Harry? He thinks he's playing 4D chess. He's not. He's pushing pieces across sand. The public isn't buying the redemption reel. Not after Oprah. Not after Netflix. Not after Spare. For every gentle quote and careful smile, there's a stack of receipts taller than the script. The elephant isn't Harry. It's Charles. His health has thrown the crown into a tunnel with a dimming light. Whispers say things are worse than the press line suggests. Whether he admits it or not, he's closing files, signing the papers that matter, trying to leave the house in order. That ticking clock softens hard edges, and that softness is exactly what makes him vulnerable to this kind of play, especially from a son who knows which strings vibrate. So the press can label it a father making peace. It isn't, not yet. Behind the curtains, it's legacy management, risk containment, image buffering. Charles wants to be remembered as the king who pulled his family back together. That desire fogs the glass. Harry knows it. Meghan knows it. They're playing the condensation. And the most manipulative piece of all? Archie and Lilibet, dangled like olive branches. Privacy until the numbers dip. Protection until a quote needs softening. If this were truly about love, there would have been a quiet weekend. 3 smiles we'd never see. A memory only they would hold. Instead, Harry arrived alone, left the kids in California, and made sure the cameras could find him. Message received. This wasn't about fixing. This was about framing. Even the promise of no leaks dissolved into curated whispers within hours. He loved being back. He wants to rebuild. He regrets the past. All gentle, all padded, all familiar. It's hard to square with the man who turned privacy into a business model. Meanwhile, William's absence hangs like a bell tone. Not consulted, not invited, informed too late to intervene. That wasn't an accident. That was a route around the stop sign. And the backlash isn't about a son seeing his father.